Welcome to our channel. We're Todd and Marcy. After deciding to be more intentional about travel, we bought an RV and hit the road. In this episode, we continue to explore Louisiana as we leave Fontainebleau State Park and head to Bayou Segnette State Park. While there, we plan to visit New Orleans. But first, we have a long bridge to cross.
Hi, how much? 16. Oh. There you go. $16. That's a pricey toll. That is a long bridge.
The causeway is two parallel bridges crossing Lake Pontchartrain. At almost 24 miles long, it holds the Guinness World Record for longest continuous span over water in the world. At a cost of $46 million, it opened in 1956. Most of the bridge is about 10 feet above the average lake water level. When the drawbridge is closed, it provides a 45-foot clearance for vessels.
I guess I didn't think it was going to be rocky. Bumpy.
Yeah.
Wow. It's not comfortable.
Yeah.
Well, we wouldn't have known unless we tried.
I think I would do it again.
No, I don't think I'd do it again either. But it wouldn't be like this without the trailer, right?
Correct. That's definitely the longest bridge I've ever been on. Oh, this is it?
This is it. This is it.
We settled into Site 1034, and the next day we headed to New Orleans.
All right, so we're parked here by the ferry. Paying for parking. So we'll see. That's really pretty. Very grand. On the hour and half hour.
To visit the French Quarter in New Orleans, we drove to the Algiers Ferry Terminal, which travels back and forth across the Mississippi River from Algiers Point to Canal Street. We parked in the public lot nearby, traveled across on the ferry, and then walked to the French Quarter. After our visit, we walked back to the Canal Street boarding site and took the ferry across to Algiers Point. It takes about 30 minutes from boarding to get to the other side and is $2 per person for one way.
View down the street with all the palm trees. Really pretty. Palm trees with Christmas wreaths. I love it. Welcome to New Orleans. These buildings are pretty, kind of colorful. A little bit like Charleston had that row of painted houses, painted ladies. That's where we're headed. The visitor center. It's a nice big map.
The French Quarter is New Orleans' oldest neighborhood and was founded by the French in 1718. For better defense, the city's street plan features a central square, now called Jackson Square, surrounded by a grid of city blocks. The neighborhood is a registered National Historic Landmark.
Jean Lafitte building the French Quarter. It's all in the detail. Wide full-length galleries, which are balconies supported by posts, are example of the French Quarter's distinctive Creole architecture. In this context, Creole simply means native. So we've got these right here. Galleries, balconies supported by posts. The most early New Orleans lived in modest homes instead of imposing houses. The two most popular designs are locally known as Creole cottages and shotgun houses. It's a Creole cottage. And here we have a shotgun house. All right, so we are at the visitor center here in the French Quarter. We're gonna go in there and see what there is to see. Like this nice, I don't know, corridor of some kind here in the center. The fountain and beautiful red brick. It's really pretty. Wasn't expecting all the palm trees here in New Orleans, and they many of them have Christmas lights wrapped around them. Really pretty with the Christmas wreaths.
These customers are dining on oysters for 10 cents a dozen in 1939. The word gumbo describes a thick soup and is probably derived from a West African word for okra. Jean Lafitte National Historical Park and Preserve is in a region that evokes images of mysterious swamps, bountiful marshes, and fertile prairies.
All right, so what do we have here?
This is Jackson Square.
Pretty. I don't know what that big building is over there. That's gorgeous. Oh, that's the Louisiana State Museum over there. Look how gorgeous this is. Wow, it's really pretty, just surrounded by these gorgeous buildings. So what are you thinking of this area here?
I'm just trying to picture how it was created and what it would have looked like. Interesting.
It's really pretty.
This whole concept of having these city squares, you know, it's just gone. We don't do that anymore.
Savannah had that.
Mm-hmm. It was probably built around the same time as this, right? It's just something that used to be a priority and now it isn't.
And here we've got Major General Andrew Jackson. The Union must and shall be preserved. Oh, it's so pretty. Look at their, what's this fancy cover here? So pretty. So pretty. Let's go this way. Balconies with
Supported by poles.
Louisiana State Museum right there. It's so much bigger than I was expecting. Everywhere I turn, it just, the French Quarter.
Oh, this is nothing. We haven't even touched a sliver of it.
I feel like my eyes just can't stop.
Most of it is that way.
Okay, let's go that way. I'm a little overwhelmed at all that there is to see. Everything is so pretty. So they got the name of the streets on the sidewalk here. So we're at the corner of Burgundy and St. Anne. We're heading over to, what was it called? The Louis Armstrong Park?
Yep.
Looks like we might be in a more residential area. It's pretty architecture. Somebody enjoyed landscaping here. Look how gorgeous. Right outside their porch here. Pretty. Armstrong. Looks like they're doing some construction there. So we're gonna walk through this structure. Louis Armstrong Park, dedicated in 1980. This tree is so gorgeous. Oh my goodness. It's called the Congo Square.
The Congo Square was an open space where enslaved and free people of African descent gathered starting in the late 18th century. There they gathered for meetings, open markets, and the African dance and drumming celebrations that played a role in the development of jazz.
This is Charles Buddy Bolden. He was a legendary cornet player. This might be Louis, huh? The statue up here? Possibly. Ever heard of him referred to as Satchmo?
I have not.
Satchmo Armstrong. It says his trumpet and harp brought everlasting joy to the world, embodying jazz as the pulse of life. Nice to see some pink flowers in December. It's definitely the area of bridges.
He's watching that little bird in the corner. He's like staring down at the water.
Look at this little palm tree. It's so cute. This is pretty. These vines all over it. All decked out for Christmas over here. Little playground park.
The old U.S. Mint, located in New Orleans, was built in 1835. It's the only building in America to have served both as a Confederate and United States mint. Operations ended in 1909, and the site now has many coins and stamping presses on display.
Illustrated History of the United States Mint, 1891. It's an 1868 Morgan and Orr coining press. It was used to strike circulating and proof coins at the San Francisco Mint until 1974. It's a really big wheel over here.
The New Orleans Jazz Museum is located on an upper level of the old U.S. Mint and displays many items significant to the history of jazz.
All right, we're gonna go upstairs. Talks about Louisiana blues, Todd. The most essential of all American music forms. Every time I close my eyes, blowing that trumpet of mine, I look right in the heart of good old New Orleans.
A pivotal moment in Louis Armstrong's young life occurred on December 31, 1912, when he was arrested for shooting his stepfather's pistol in a New Year's Eve celebration. After his arrest, he was sent to the Colored Waifs Home for Boys. While at the Waifs home, Armstrong learned how to play the cornet. He became a member of the Waifs Home Brass Band, and when he was released in 1914, his professional career took off. Beginning in 1900, jazz could be heard throughout New Orleans. Early jazz musicians described their music as ragtime, referring to their ability to improvise variations or rag a song's melody.
So that's the ferry where we took off from.
Yeah. I don't remember hearing that music when we got off the ferry this morning. Okay, so we just got back from our visit to the French Quarter. Todd's going to kind of go over the route that we took.
So we parked a truck over here in Algiers and walked to the ferry, rode the ferry across. We got off the ferry right here next to the aquarium, and we walked over here, and then we walked up here to the visitor center. So we went into that visitor center, came out of there, and then we walked along here to Jackson Square. Jackson Square was a pretty cool park. Then we came out of Jackson Square and we walked up here and ended up going to Louis Armstrong Park, which is a super cool park with lots of bridges over water features. And then there's also a performing arts center up there. Then we came down here and walked along this street until we got over to Barracks Street by this little park. And we came back down here and took a look at the French market. This is like an open air market. And then we went to the Jazz Museum right over here on the end. Then we came back over this way and we had lunch at the Gazebo Cafe. There was some live music there. Those guys were great. Very, very entertaining. And then we came back along and walked along the shoreline here of the Mississippi for a little bit. Then we turned and came back in here and walked back down these streets until we got back. We're here. Got back on the ferry and came back.
We were there about 4 hours. Not super crowded. So, doing some remote work today and taking a break to walk the campground. So, what are your thoughts regarding this park so far?
Oh, well, it's a nice park. It's super quiet. It's like we're like, I don't know, one of maybe 10 people here.
Yeah. And some of them have these really neat, like, decks. Maybe if there's low ground, they put a deck, but that's kind of nice. We have one of those.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. This whole area appears to be below sea level by a little bit. So they have a giant retaining wall around the entire thing. So like looks like it could handle storm surge and prevent this area from getting flooded. Has these massive doors that can close to help keep the water out. And then it looks like they have pumps. I don't know, the hose on the pump is probably 2.5 feet in diameter for pumping water out of this area. So
they have a boat launch, a really large boat launch, actually, right?
It had 5 double-sided docks, so you could launch 10 boats at the same time.
Yeah. We were at Fontainebleau before this, and there were definitely more people there.
They had pretty good taste in music, so it wasn't as bad as it could have been.
Those neighbors? Yeah. Neighbors liked to play music. Here they've got a gate, and we needed a code if we were going to be out past the park hours.
Past curfew.
So we're here one more night. Total of 3 nights, 4 days. Here at the state park, we found these Louisiana enforcement wildlife and fishery boats. They have 3 here at the park. 4-motor, 3-motor, 2-motor. Not invited to this party.
Does he fly?
Barely even walks.
Aren't you afraid I'm going to eat you?
He's not afraid of anything. Should be.
We woke up the next morning to a cold RV. Our first propane tank was empty, but Todd switched us over to the second and we were warm again. It was time to pack up and head to another campground. Join us next time as we continue to explore Louisiana. And thanks for watching as we share our travels while out and about.